kind of did a little bit of a mishmash, and it's going to be a little bit organic here, but that's the way my mom would have wanted it. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tom first.
There's a tradition at Unitarian Universalist gatherings, and these words were composed by Lisa Schaefer, who was a major force in the planning and the execution of this service. Without Lisa Schaefer, we wouldn't be having this service. So I want to thank her, even though she's not able to be here today. There's a tradition in our Unitarian Universalist gatherings to light a chalice. It symbolizes the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. What better way to summarize the life of our friend Vicky? She brought us truth through her research and teachings. She brought us warmth and community through nurturing our bodies with the yummy, healthy food and lifting our spirits with song. And she embodied the fire of commitment to her family, to her friends, and to making the world a better, more loving, and healthier place. I, Lisa, met Vicky almost 20 years ago as a Unitarian Universalist weekend family camp in San Bernardino Mountains. I was new to the area, new to being a Unitarian Universalist, and knew almost nobody. Vicky, Michael, and Ty adopted me and made me a part of their family for the weekend. We got together socially after that and recognized the shared love of singing and lamented that there was nowhere to go just to sing. So both being doers, we created our own place. We invited some folks we knew to gather together to sing. That gathering has continued for almost 15 years. The group last met a few weeks after Vicky's death and shared stories of our connections to her. And what I heard most often mirrored my own existence and experience. Vicky brought people together, invited us into her home, made us feel welcome. Someone said she made us into new, old friends. Vicky introduced me to many musicians, including both John Stendy, who is part of our singing group, and John is unable to be here today, and singer-songwriters Emma's Revolution, who are also unable to be here today. They all wanted to be here. It's ironic, Lisa goes on, that as I was working with Ty to plan the memorial, Vicky was the person I kept wishing I could talk to help with the organizing. Is one of the many things that she was really good at. She had a deep curiosity about life and spirit. In our Sacred Circle monthly discussion groups, she often talked about her belief that there was a cosmic energy force beyond our understanding, and the idea that we're all star stuff. So I want to believe that she was not afraid of death, but approached it with curiosity. And now Vicky gets to find out what really happens after our earthly bodies die. And although we miss her a lot, it seems she knew it was her time to move on. And I know she's talking and singing and eating good food with all her new friends, wherever she is. Vicky Newman has died, and you and I are alive. And we meet together this afternoon because of her death to do the homage to the spirit of life, a spirit which lives on in you and me with renewed courage and appreciation and energy. And openly and unashamedly, we bring our hurt and our loneliness and our love, our special love for you, Ty, and family members gathered here, and for all Vicky's relatives who were unable to be here as well. We would make this hour love's hour, and these simple rites love's confessional, for it is love's tribute that we come to offer here today. Our voices may be the voices of sorrow, but the language after which sorrow gropes is always the language of love.
Thanks, Tom. And before we go on, I wanted to give a special thanks to Tom for helping me to coordinate this. By no small means was it or no effort was it a small ordeal, as you can imagine. So with that, he told me to speak slowly. Unfortunately, that's not really how I can do it, but I'll try. So I'll give it a shot. Well, you've survived coronavirus so far and risked the stigma of self-isolation to come to a public gathering in celebration of my mom's life. For that, I'm appreciative. And to show my appreciation, I have a case of toilet paper in the trunk. I took it from the stash that my mom kept from the last bird flu epidemic. Unfortunately, you're on your own for hand sanitizers, but there's plenty of wine outside you can wash your hands with. You coming here would have made my mom happy. She got such joy from hosting events that people like you would attend. I know, because almost every time I would go to her house in the later years, she would be working on a spreadsheet that would either consist of her hourly blood pressure readings, ingredients for her latest vegetable puree, or a list of attendees for the nightly event. She'd proceed to hand me a yellow Post-it note and tell me what I needed to help her with. If I protest and question her resolution to being an alpha female, she'd turn on that sweet voice of hers and tell me that if I didn't take care of it right away, she'd make me stay for a round of crystal bowl healing music with her goddess friends. You can't believe how quickly I got going on the list. While I was working, she'd usually stand right behind me and tell me what to do. She was an assistant teacher and was remarkably effective at managing a son that doesn't like to be told what to do, like holding group gatherings during a national emergency. As I was working, she'd be getting calls from people telling them what to bring, what not to worry about, and then sighing about some logistic complication. If I tried to commiserate, she'd quickly remind me of the task at hand. Nevertheless, she would persist, and one way or another, she'd get her mirror installed or her computer fixed. And it was usually right when the first crystal bowl healer walked through the door. If they took a close look, they would have probably seen me scampering away with a few rolls of toilet paper that I plundered from her garage. I mean, she always did stress the importance of fair trade. On that note, I want to thank my mom for a few things. Number one, teaching me to say please and thank you. Although I struggled to maintain her sweet voice, you'd be surprised how many free coffees I got when going falsetto. Number two, teaching me to eat healthy, especially on my birthday. As a kid, I had a penchant for junk food and would often scurry off to one of my friends' houses to raid their pantry. Unfortunately, the sugar somewhat limited my abilities to deceive my mom, and I would usually leave candy wrappers in my pockets and would be punished with a tofu dinner. If such forms of defiance happened close to a birthday, my birthday brownies would usually consist of some magic ingredient thrown in, like black beans. However, as my mom must have learned in some form of nutritional psychology book she had read cover to cover at some point, you do something long enough and it becomes a habit. Number three, teaching me how to be a responsible citizen. When I finished up with school in Northern California with a subpar GPA, my mom told me that I could stay in the guest room. I said, "Mom, what's the guest room? And where is all my stuff?" To which she quickly replied, "Oh, I turned your room into the guest room and got rid of all your stuff. And by the way, your rent is now $800 a month." I protested a bit, but was quickly overruled by her sweet voice and threat of a spontaneous crystal ball goddess party. Within 2 weeks, I had my first job. Number 4, teaching me how to navigate bureaucracy. You'll notice that my mom's lessons in adulthood got me a job, but my inability to get managed got me in hot water, fast. As any good misanthrope would do, I bitched about the system and about how unfair the world was. My mom was quick to show me how to put on the sweet charm, write the job description for the promotion I wanted, and prove to my boss how much money I was saving him. Number 5, teaching me how to use Excel to coordinate life and social events. While I can't say that my list of RSVPs is anywhere near comparable to hers, I'm grateful that my mom taught me that everything can be narrowed down to a cell in a spreadsheet. Let the metaphors begin. Number 6, teaching me to say hi and make eye contact with everyone. If you were to view her list of books and cabinets of spreadsheets, you'd never think that my mom made it outside. But she tracked her steps, even before it was cool, and made it outside at least once a day, where she would take great pride in greeting everyone on the street. If she tempted me with frozen yogurt, it's healthier than ice cream, I gained a great deal of emotional intelligence when deciphering the who the F saying hi to me look, from strangers. Nevertheless, her gregarious attitude combined with a high self-confidence and disregard for such expressions proved highly lucrative in building an enormous network of friends and colleagues. Number 7, always using my pottery for a purpose. Some of it even survived my move back from college and is sitting in the garden somewhere to hold some plant. I think one of my pots might even hold some toilet paper rolls in the bathroom. But by far, the most important thing I'm thankful for is convincing my dad to have a kid. Today is my birthday, and on this day, I'm incredibly grateful that my mom had enough tenacity, management skill, and feminine wiles to convince a pessimistic, hard-headed contrarian like my dad to have a kid at the age of 51, at the height of the Reagan administration. She was so clever, in fact, that she surprised him with twins. Although one of us didn't make it, her conviction gave me the opportunity to experience 34 years of life, global pandemonium, and toilet paper rationing. And in this life, I learned about death, a surprising and pivotal moment that will forever serve to remind me that living life today, free of fear, and in the midst of others is important, for tomorrow may never come. I too learned that lesson, not necessarily from my mom, but because of her. She was not a big fan of traditional family values and was somewhat apathetic towards holidays and family gatherings. For a long time I shared this perspective, but slowly I grew more and more concerned with the growing decline in social capital, grossly evident today. Before Thanksgiving of last year, I had a realization that I too had a role in this apathy, and I rather quickly drove over to my mom's house. Once I finished helping her set up a new stereo, I turned around, looked her in the eye, and reminded her that despite the fact that her sisters didn't necessarily share the same proclivity for crystal bowl healing music, they were in fact still her family. And this social bond is critical to a community. I told her that they were all getting older. She was 74, her middle sister was 72, and her younger sister was 67 at that point. And a day may come when the opportunity to connect and reconcile will be forever gone. For the first time in a long time, I saw a look of sentiment and mortality wash across my mom's face as she slowly came to tears. Within a few days, Thanksgiving at my cousin Doug and his fiancée Audrey, hey guys.
Hi.
The new house was back on. As the reunion approached, the first strong winter storm system was projected to come into Southern California. On the news, they used phrases like unprecedented, dangerous, and widespread flooding. One by one, each family member slowly backed out of the celebration, stressed about the consequences of driving through the rain. I reminded my mom that I was going one way or another, even if I had to kayak up there, and it broke my heart when she too decided to back out. That was the last Thanksgiving that she ever had, and she celebrated it by herself at home. It was the last opportunity she had to see her sisters. And as such, I am reminded today of the fragility of human life and the importance of taking advantage of today. Now, in the wake of fear, panic, and social isolation. For tomorrow may be but a dream. And we are here today, us, against all odds, celebrating life, not death. Vicky's life, our life, and the life of our community. And I'd like to forever commemorate life today with a piece of art, a memento mori for my mom, painted by my good friend Katie over here, which is actually up there in the back. Thanks a lot.
Want me to bring it?
Who just brought it. You guys can see it after the service. So thanks for keeping the memory alive. As the Greek said, ars longa vita brevis. Life is short and art is eternal. Now I'm going to hand it over for some art music.
Good job, man. That's good.
Thank you, Vicky. Vicky's here too, but thank you for your musical gifts. Ty will continue with the visual contribution.
Like I promised, organic. So we've got now, with all the I guess the apocalypse that's happening, we've got plenty of spare time. So I took about 600 pounds of photo albums and digitized them over the last 2.5 days. So we'll try and go through some photos, a documentary kind of, what you will say. I don't have a remote, so Mike in the back there and I are going to try and ad-lib this here. So go ahead. Born in 1945, her love for cooking started from an early age. At an early age, she learned how to pose for the camera, and as anyone can tell you, capturing a candid moment was rare. But on this special occasion, one of her sisters could catch her off guard, and she wouldn't be very happy about it. So for a while, she got shy and went with the flow, but soon she got bored and got tired of sitting and flirting with boys. Soon, she was at the center of attention again, and decided she could do her own thing and ignore traditional roles. Soon, she became one of the most popular girls in school because she danced, waved flags, won competitions, and didn't like going on vacation very much. Soon she went to college and joined a sorority and had some fun. But even though she was surrounded by temptation, she studied hard. When her friends started getting married, she stayed single. Because she knew that with her charm, she could do whatever she wanted. Like join Pan Am and fly to distant places. Like Japan, Paris, Italy, and the South Pacific, where the wind made her run back home, where she enjoyed sugar and wheat flour, and the love of her family. The wonders of the national parks, the wonders of the urban parks, and cruises on private sailboats. But she needed more, and met a guy, and became a hippie. They got married, and she found joy and a love for nutrition. She started teaching while deciding she wanted a child. So she started drinking milk, and it made her tired. She was eager to get back to work. But life had other plans and gave her twins, with one who didn't make it, and one who survived. But he was a demanding kid, and tired her out. Because of his need for bats, and his love for abstract art. But she still got back to work, even though she had to take him on planes and make lots of calls. Even though he was a bit hard to control, she could still contain him. She trained him well, and sometimes even let him eat cake. And on the rare occasion, pizza. She dealt with his love for interesting animals and shared his passion for the ocean. She took him to exotic places. She taught him to enjoy books, how to fend for himself, and comb his hair. Not today. She taught me, under special circumstances, sugar was okay, but water was better. She was an awesome teacher, a great host, and a wonderful friend. She will be missed by us all, especially her son and her two cats.
series of tributes. And in between the 2 or 3 of them will be an opportunity for Dana to play some more harp music. We'll start with Stephanie.
Can you hear me? Yes. So I'm Stephanie. I'm Vicky's San Francisco friend. However, over my last visit, when I spent 2 weeks with Vicky a few weeks before she passed away, we were reminiscing about when we met, and I said we met when I took a first nutrition class in Pacific Beach in 1978. And she said, no, Stephanie, 1976. And this was the beginning of a really beautiful, long friendship of 43 years. And Vicky lived on Thomas Street at the time. She wore her long hair back in a ponytail. And she was married to Michael, who often went out to sea for 2 or 3 months. And I would stay with Vicky in the library in the backyard, where I had a futon and I slept. So I might stay with her for 2, 3 months at a time. She would go to work, come home, we'd cook and talk. And the interesting thing was that Vicky was really focused. She didn't really like to leave her zip code. And I was someone who didn't have a zip code because I traveled so much. And yet, we really bonded with a friendship unlike I don't think I've had with many other people or have today. We're polar opposites. I admired her ultra focus, and I dabbled in things, looking for myself. Then Vicky got me quite involved in nutrition, and I volunteered with her at University Hospital with prenatal care at one time and thought I might want to become a nutritionist. And she said, "You're such a free spirit. I don't think you can live your life in teaspoons and tablespoons." And she was absolutely right. We will, I think, our friendship, because I think both Vicky and I are really ethical people, so it was around ethics. We had a love of books, a love of learning, and we would discuss topics, anything that was existential, to something so basic as the 2 chairs by her kitchen table that I think came from her family, how they were designed to support our spines and our bottoms, unlike chairs today. And that's one of the last conversations that we had when I was there a few weeks ago. We also had, oddly enough, a conversation about how we had great maternal genes and that we were going to live a long life, and worried about how we were going to get around as old ladies. I spent last New Year's Eve with her with Liz, and I remember Vicky in the kitchen making 2 desserts with not very much sugar, and sitting around the table drinking mezcal, which I was sort of surprised, but we had a couple shots of mezcal, and it was just a delightful way to finish the year and bring in the new year. I remember when Ty was born, I think I was the first person other than his father to see him. Vicky was in the hospital holding him like a treasure. And it was just an incredible joy in her life. Vicky came up to San Francisco for her 70th birthday. And I took her to Tassajara Zen, it's a retreat up in Big Sur. And as we got into what I thought was our beautiful yurt, a wooden yurt that was rather expensive, she looked around and she said, you know, this is kind of rustic, Stephanie. I said, rustic? She said, you'll have to come to Rancho Puerto with me. But the interesting thing, I saw both at Tasahara and several times with her at Rancho Puerto. We were sitting at a table communally, and there was a beautiful young woman around 28 with her mother sitting across from us, and Vicky and I were oogling all the food because it was fabulous. And she noticed that the young woman wasn't eating very much, and she said, don't you like the food? And she replied, well, I'm seeing a nutritionist in LA, and I can't eat this, and I can't eat that, and I have to fast. And I could feel Vicky. And in the way that only Vicky could weave her magic in this very sweet voice, as Ty referred to, she said, well, I'm a nutritionist, and you know, this is good for you, and that, and this, and I think you should try it. And of course, the young woman started eating, and then before dinner was finished, she had Vicky's card and was going to work with Vicky on the phone. And I saw this also at Rancho La Puerta, where you would take a concept in nutrition that was pretty difficult, and Vicky, in this incredibly gentle but focused way, would kind of weave magic, where people would leave after the lecture with bite-sized information, and her lectures were always crowded down there. And so I want to kind of finish with two things that Vicky used to do, or one thing that she used to do. We would get up in the morning, and I don't know how we did this. We'd sit for 2 hours and talk about everything and talk about nothing. But at dinner, she would always prepare dinner, lately with no wheat, much to my chagrin. And she would take my hands like this, and she would say, thank you for the food we're about to eat, and thank you for having Stephanie here to share it with me. And so many times she did that. I think it was, I didn't pay much attention to it. It was, I did it because Vicky liked it. But the last few times, I felt this sense of her being right there as we did this. And I want to finish with, I can't sing, but 4 lines that I think Vicky would feel this way about life. It's from a Chilean songwriter, Isabella Parra. And there's 4 lines from the song Gracias a la Vida. And it goes like this. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto. Thanks to life which has given me so much. Me dio 2 luceros que cuando los abro. He gave me 2 stars that when I open them, perfecto distingo lo negro de blanco. Perfect I distinguish black from white. Y en el alto cielo su fondo estrellado. And in the high sky, its starry background, y en las multitudes, el hijo que yo llamo, y in the crowds, the son, S-O-N, not S-U-N, that I love. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, thanks to life which has given me so much. And in a way, I feel so thankful for having Vicky in my life because she's given me so much.
So bear with me, please. I'm June Fox. My friendship with Vicky goes back to our undergrad years at UCLA. So I've known her for a long time, and I was in a sorority, but I wasn't in her sorority. Just lived down the block. But I am here today not only to honor Vicky's life, but also to represent her very, very dear friend and Ty's very dear friend, Bitsy Bunker, known as Elizabeth Bunker, who is not able to be here today. She lives on the East Coast. So I'm going to read in Elizabeth's words. It says, first of all, Vicky, I refuse to believe that you're not right here with us. I know that your spirit ears are burning to see all these friends you have loved and cared for, to see they are here, hearts full of love for you. Missing you, remembering you. So being candid, I say again, Vicky is with us. I speak with her, and know many of you do also. For we know that on a soul level she hears and she knows. So a bit of Bitsy's background. Her family moved to California for the second time, she says, when I was around 19 years old. In Malibu, at a gathering of folks I did not know, I was talking to the host when suddenly appeared this tall, hair to waist, beautiful and beaming young woman right in my face with a blast of questions. And you know how direct she could be. Who are you? I know you. I recognize your voice. How do we know each other? We whittled down our lives to find that it was 3rd grade, Oak Grove School in Pasadena, that we knew each other. All we had to go on was our voices, but we were sure. Our mothers corroborated it. We had lots to share then, and we became fast sister friends. From that day, I realized that Vicky was madly, truly, and deeply curious. She was curious about everything, so she read and she asked. Her curiosity may have come from her intense caring, which ran deep. Her caring for the earth, the soils, the growing of foods, how people lived, and women and their health, and how to allow more of their power. She cared about ideas, whether they came from Matthew Fox, Rachel Carson, Wendell Berry, or Edith Piaf. She cared about holograms and the cosmos. Why she loved Teilhard de Chardin so much, she named her son Ty, my godson, and now my friend, whose life has been a part of mine for 30 years. Vicky always wanted to know how the cosmos was doing. Black holes made her worry and fret. It was my job to say, Vicky, breathe, stay calm. The cosmos is taking care of itself. We can stay out of it. In the last year of her life, when her body was falling out of control, she would say, I breathed for a few minutes this morning. Oh, it was so boring. But I'll try again sometime. Yes, we laughed. Once at Type A, we would laugh. The defiant Vicky. One day, Vicky was visiting my family. My father told me that I must take a job that made money rather than wallow around in the arts. Vicky stood at full attention, looked him straight in the eye, and said, you mean she should sell her soul for a few more dollars? Really? I don't think so. Then she laughed. He turned bright red and promptly walked out of the room. That was the end of that conversation. Thank you, Vicky, for speaking the truth. Always your truth. The articles. Later on, as she became a top nutritionist and manager, she would email me articles, as so many of you know, articles about whatever caught her passion. Then she'd call to ask, sometimes breathless, did you read them? What'd you think? Keeping up with her was finally impossible. Her life was a whirlwind of thoughts, distilling what was possible from impossible, sharing music, dealing with a strained marriage, wanting to be the best for Ty and for everyone, and oh, those parties and those singing. Rarely was her life about sitting or breathing. That was my job. Tell her to take just a minute, 1 minute to breathe, and know she was taken care of. The Queen. Vicky had a real grace, and she had the soul essence of a queen. Put her anywhere, and soon she would have people organized, talking and sharing their stories, their ideas, giving them a healthy snack in one hand, or asking, "Is that a Coke you're drinking? Really? Do you know that teeth dissolve in Coca-Cola in a few hours?" Yes, she did have her list of pet peeves. Coca-Cola, all sodas, energy drinks were just a few of them, alongside clear-cutting sound bites and people who refused to read, reflect, or educate themselves. Seeking truth was always about coming into compassion for all, the greatest good for the greatest number. May have been her philosophy. Seems so now, looking back through her life. We do remember days. We do not remember days. We remember moments. Cesar Pavese, a favorite poet, said that. There were many great moments with Vicky. After 10 years in Oregon, I moved to a cottage on a lake in Massachusetts. Over the years, Ty and Vicky came to visit. Not being a horsewoman, instead of riding, we went walking all over the neighborhood with my Arabian mare, Candy, and a great poodle named Ellie to lead us. She loved their beauty and their sense of play. She loved the lake and the forest. While letting the horse graze, she was greeting my neighbors, striking up conversations about their lives, about food and their health. They brought their symptoms to her, and she never wearied, but always responded with good cheer. When she visited, yes, she brought along a garlic press or a cheese grater to offset my lack of culinary skill whatsoever. I watched her, I see her now watching the horse Candy gallop and rear, do a true rampage around the ring. Wildness and freedom. It was so different from her days in the office, she told me, just wandering around the woods without any purpose. And then I remember Vicky arranging flowers for a party, leading me through her garden. Earth colors were her choice and her delight, this magnificent and abundant earth. Vicky, what a rich and full life you created here. Thank you for being a wise sister and an always friend. You are and have always been an inspiration. Dance on in this mystery we call life. That's from Elizabeth Bunker. And lastly, this is a poem that she sent to Vicky on June 8th, 1986, and it's to Perry, Ty's brother. Oh, I can do this. I do not stand by my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am a diamond glint on snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grape. I am the gentle autumn rain. When you awake in the morning hush, I am the swift uplifting rush of quiet birds in circling flight. I am the soft star that shines at night. Do not stand by my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die. Thank you, Ty, for putting this together today.
time now for some brief personal tributes. If you wish to offer one, please come forward and speak here at the mic. Project your voice and speak clearly.
Thank you all for coming. I'm Ann, a good friend of Vicky's for, I think it's over 30 years now, because we first met when I think Ty and Davey were probably just a few weeks old, and we worked at Wellstart International back then. And we've stayed good friends all these years, and it's something I really will treasure. And thank you, Dana, for the beautiful music you played at my mom's memorial tomb, and it really was a gift, something very special. And I haven't prepared any special things to say, but some memories come to mind, some moments, sort of as June was saying, and Stephanie. It's so good that you could both be here and share. There was a time back at actually Devenville Pines, and it was the same time when Lisa first met Vicky. And we were staying with Ty and with your dad and mom, if you remember, in the bunk room. And then there was another time where we really went beyond Vicky's level of comfort and got them to come out camping and go all the way to the highest wooden trestle. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
Out in the desert.
Definitely beyond your comfort level.
Yeah, very much beyond. But we also went down often to Rancho La Puerta. She did that with your mom, and then with you, I think, for a number of years, and then with dear friends. And that was really a special time because we could spend it, gossiping together, talking over so many different things. And it was always so good, as Stephanie was saying, to be with her and to share on so many different levels. And then I would see her there at Rancho La Puerta with the lectures she would give and how she would draw people in and give so much. And then always had time for people afterwards. She liked to spend a little time where it was just the two of us way off somewhere, so she wasn't on all the time, but she was very giving of her knowledge. And she was a worrier, that's for sure. But she always was trying to find solutions for this cosmos and share them with other people. And I will very much miss her, but I feel like she's still here somehow. Like you can still talk to her through the rest of whatever my life will be. And that's a treasure. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Dennis Jacobs. I've been Vicky's dentist and friend. Thank you. Okay. I have the notes from her adult education class. I think that's what you call it, and it says 2/1975. So, here's this statue of a blonde coming in there, and so self-assured and gentle. And I took her education that she gave me and carried it forth my entire life. And people would question me, and I would just give a Vicky answer. And I felt assured all the time. So I wanted to say she has a knack for teaching and making you believe. I'm sort of like this secret friend of hers because I didn't come to a lot of the singing sessions, and sometimes I was slow to respond to those emails. She'd get upset with me and either call me or email me and say, well, what'd you think of that? You're a medical person, what'd you think? So we'd have these moments, and then she'd get over it and forgive me. But as long as she had me over for dinner quite a bit, and we did that prayer and thing before dinner. As long as I brought a bottle of Pinot and some pistachio nuts, I was in. I mean, she was good to me. I think I can do a little thing of hers that you'd all recognize. She'd say, "Dennis, I'm worried about my numbers. What are your numbers?" And before I could answer, she'd say, "I'm going to show you my flow sheet." I don't know. So I tried to get her off of that, focus, and I'd say, the doctor calls me with the result of the blood test, and whatever he says, I completely forget about it if he says I'm okay. And she, "How could you do that? I'm checking my flow sheet all the time," says Ty. So I can't be quite as gentle as these wonderful speakers before me, but I would like to say that she had an ability to relate. We were completely different personalities and such. Occasionally I could get a joke through and she would laugh, but most of the time I'd tell the joke and it went, and I go, I don't really have that sense of humor, Dennis. Right? So thank you all for having me. I'll miss her forever, but like you all said, her spirit is with all of us.
Hi all, I'm Liz Mayer, and I wrote something which is not my normal, I'm sort of lyrical, but this is something, I don't want to touch it. Thank you. I'm having a little bit of a vulnerable attack. Okay, and this is going to be difficult because I have to move it and then it unfocuses, so I'll try my best. This is a little letter, a note, it's a paragraph that I wrote to Vicky today thinking about this memorial, and she sort of invaded my time in the morning a little bit. And I said, "Dear Vicky, thanks so much for being my friend. From the day that we met in this very church, I knew that, that we would be close buddies. We always schmoozed after services. You can tell I'm sort of from New York, and she was sort of from like the very eastern part of San Diego, different culture. We always schmoozed after services, really enjoying each other's company. And then you invited me to the singing group. I was thrilled. I so enjoyed singing in a group like that, not to mention the heartfelt, fabulous songs in that very special songbook that you and the musicians put together. Your generosity, lovely home, the best restaurant in town food, and like-minded, kind people always made. Okay, we're almost there. Always made that a very wonderful experience. But that's not to mention, then my friend, there's so many other shared birthdays, Christmases, New Year's Eves, Rancho La Puerta's visits. We hung out for a while in a lot of different spaces and different times. And the regular, just every 2 or 3 week get-togethers for dinner that made your presence in my life such an important, valued one. Your absence is felt and will be even more so in all of those yearly moments. I can feel your energy floating over the ocean at each day's sunset. You are remembered deep in my heart, and with each expanding vibration, I am in touch.
It's still hard to believe that Vicky Newman is no longer physically among us. wasn't long ago that Vicky was grieving the death of her own precious mother, or reaching out to support and soothe us upon the loss of a friend or a family member. She was always the one concerned about our health and well-being, even while recovering from her own infirmities. I mean, Vicky, as has been said so many times this afternoon, she should be here serving as a coordinator for someone else. But here we are, reading and mourning to celebrate her life. So friends, may we spiritually show up today and tomorrow and far in the seasons beyond counting, fortified with Vicky-like savvy and strength. Carolyn and I were blessed to have Vicky Newman and her husband Michael Lehman enter this very sanctuary with their small son Ty 3+ decades ago. Vicky grew connected to our progressive faith via her commitment to social justice as well as her passion for music. And always picture Vicky singing her heart out on the porch at our Camp de Benneville Pines in the mountains, or seated in her own living room, surrounded by comrades, belting out ballads for a kinder world and a more inhabitable planet. Vicky, with a gracious yet relentless fury, a rare combination, gracious yet relentless fury, would send out to her co-conspirators far and wide the latest song of global relevance, a powerful TED Talk or a must-attend event, some nutritional counsel, or simply words of wisdom to make our lives a bit more just and more joyful. She was both strong-willed and intrepid in the way she shaped her days, focused, ever onward. Moreover, most everything Vicky Newman promoted, she aspired to embody in her own daily choices. Her life, her argument. At core, Vicky was a devoted daughter, sister, mother, and friend. Ty, she was yoked to you in your evolution, both personally and professionally. She relished the deep check-ins that you two alone shared. And through all of the physical, emotional, and legal entanglements of your dad's life, she never soaked in ill will. Without rescuing Michael, she never lost touch. Her governing passion was singing. Vicky would regularly send me a new song that she had recently heard and wanted to add to our ever-burgeoning songbook. I admit we quibbled occasionally over the selections. But during the last go-around, we both agreed to debut 2 ballads for our group, Sing, People Sing, and Love Reaches Out, composed by her spiritual colleagues, Pat Humphreys and Sandy O of Emma's Revolution, and songs right down the alley of Vicky's allies. And note the sentiment of one of her musical lodestars, Pete Seeger, when he said, "Music cannot change the world, but people can." And sometimes music changes people. Music thickened and galvanized Vicky's life on her path toward becoming a more compassionate changer. Vicky Newman was keen and inquiring of mind, expansive of heart, ever attentive to the health of her own body and ours as well, woke of conscience and fervent of spirit. Pretty much a whole human being. The kind we were born to become. The kind we were born to become. And now for a few moments, let each of us, in the silence of our own hearts, offer our special farewell to our past with Vicky Newman, and then offer a special greeting to our futures without her physical presence, tomorrows in which we are charged to be wise and compassionate, because we in the world are braver for her death and far, far better for her life. And all those whom we meet here and everywhere, today and tomorrow, shalom, salam, and blessed be. And the words that have been selected for the extinguishing of our flaming chalice, the words that Lisa would be sharing, Lisa Schaefer, ironically come from a minister colleague of ours, Greg Ward, in his 50s now, who was a 10-year-old in my first church. We have come to share the loss we have felt in Vicky's passing and some examples of the joy we carry from her life. This we have done. But before we extinguish the chalice, let us acknowledge that we will not, we cannot extinguish the love that she showed us, or the memory of her, or the wisdom and affection that we now carry forward in our lives. We have absorbed so much light from her, and may we always be able to see that light as it is reflected in all that we do. And remember and smile, knowing her light is shining from us as well.
Yes, thank you for your persistence, and I don't know how it happened, but this was my childhood. Okay, so this is where I was when I was in the girl in the 60s, and right sitting there when we were able to come into the big room before the fire construction and the trains, and this was I was here. This was part of my upbringing. Yeah. So this church, this is where I went. So thank you for
That's the one thing I actually have. What don't I know? Where did you live?
Good to see you.
Yeah, I'm John Duquette.
I don't think so.